Today we're on Naraka Bladepoint and we're talking about why Naraka is my favorite pick for battle royales to recommend for people that are in the fighting game community like Street Fighter or Super Smash Bros. And we're gonna go over the combat mechanics in Naraka to show exactly why this game is called an FGC BR. Also, if you like this video, then please consider subscribing for more Naraka Bladepoint content on this channel. Enjoy. So what originally got me started in Naraka was when a fellow Steven actually told me that Naraka was like a mix between Apex Legends and Super Smash Bros. And I honestly didn't believe him at first, even after I bought the game and I started playing it, and I was like, okay, I see the battle royale with different characters and abilities, so I see the Apex in this game, but I don't see the Super Smash Bros. Because I was mostly just hacking and slashing and spam clicking against the bots. But after you learn the basics of the game and you get into some real fights, you can start to see how Naraka blends the FGC elements into the battle royale genre. Because yeah, you have ranged weapons in the game like the bow and the musket and the cannon, but because of the grappling mechanic in Naraka, the core gameplay happens in the melee combat system. And that's where things start to get really interesting because of the way the combat system is set up with melee weapons. It's a pretty straightforward combat style with normal attacks and focus attacks that you can turn into dash attacks and crouch uppercuts and aerial attacks with different inputs. And when you complement your melee weapons with your character abilities and the fast-paced movement tech that you see in Naraka Bladepoint, you can see that there's no cookie-cutter way to approach a fight because you have different options on how to play the neutral game, and there's different ways to experiment with combos and set up different character builds to match your specific playstyle. So there's a lot of opportunity to inject your personality into the game and have a pretty unique way of expressing yourself in a fight, and I think that's one of the biggest things people look for in a well-made fighting game. You look for the right character and the right weapons that match your personality, and you just go out there to show these people what you're all about. So let's break down the different phases that happen in a fight in Naraka and try to showcase what actually goes down in a 1v1 so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about here. Okay, so everything starts at the neutral game, and the neutral game is when both players are considered to be even, and they start playing around their opponent by throwing out moves, or dodging, or moving around to either try to land their first hit, or to wait for their opponent to overcommit and do something unsafe, so that you can punish them accordingly. And when you manage to land the first hit, that's where the advantage phase starts, and you as the attacker, your job is to extend your combos and do the most damage, and keep the pressure on to snuff out your opponent's defensive moves and finish the fight. And for the player who's at disadvantage, your job is to either turn the tables on the attacker with parries, focus attacks, or just straight up dodging and repositioning to get a better hit, or to reset the neutral by disengaging and grappling away so that you can get the chance to heal up and make it a fair fight again. So just from that, you can see that the combat system is entirely different from the AAA VR games that you see like Warzone, Apex, or Fortnite, these shooter-based games. And what's important in Naraka Bladepoint is that it's not just a battle royale based on who can click heads the fastest or who has the better recoil control. It's about who has the better mind games and who has the options to outplay their opponent and win the fight. Let me show you an example here. Naraka has a pretty standard combat triangle where normal attacks can't be parried, focus attacks give you armor versus normal attacks, and parries block and disarm focus attacks. So if I hit my opponent with a normal attack string, the final attack is always going to be a focus attack, so if I'm just constantly using the same attack string and my opponent knows this, they can predict I'm going to end on a focus attack and they can try to parry to knock me down and disarm me. However, my answer to him predicting that can be that before I finish my string on a focus attack, I can crouch or dash to cancel the string and start a new attack string all over again to keep the combo going. But now their answer to that could be to predict that I'm going to do that and start their own focus attack right after my normal attack string to armor through the second string and counter attack. But if I was just going for the standard attack string in the first place and to end on a focus attack, I hit them anyway and now they're on the ground and we start the tech chase. It's a lot to just explain into words, but it becomes apparently obvious when you actually get to do it in the game. So when you're knocked on the floor, there aren't many options of what you can do until you get back up, so you either have the option to roll in any direction to avoid getting chased, or you can get up right away and try to act with an attack or a counter, and since your options when you're knocked down are very limited, your opponent's going to try to react and throw out a move to keep the aggression going and keep knocking you down. This is called tech chasing. And that's just an oversimplified example of what could go down in a 1v1 without even starting to talk about character abilities or ults and everything else that happens in a battle royale, where you're not always going to have the same weapons or the same soul jades, where other players can just waltz in for the third party and completely change the dynamic of how the fight works, and all of this is just in solos. So if you're playing in a team, then that's a completely different story because then you have to factor in things like team coordination and testing out different team combos into the mix, which can also be really fun to try if you have friends to play with. So there's a big sense of freshness in Naraka Bladepoint that incorporates things that people already like about fighting games with the elements of a battle royale in them to make for a really unique experience, in my opinion, that rewards playing smart and anticipating your opponent's options instead of rewarding how good you are with your gun or how good you are with aiming. But if you're still watching at this point, I really appreciate you being here and watching this video. And if you like this video, then you'll probably like one of these too. So feel free to check them out, and I'll catch you on the next one.